Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to do deck profile on my GB2 Stride deck for Dark Irregulars. So this one is the traditional Stride deck. It is definitely a more budget-oriented deck, mainly because in Amon, the original Amon is so hard to find that card is really expensive. Very similar to Lucia and Pale Moon. It's even older than Lucia because I think it's from like set 2. No, it's set 3. I have it over here. So anyway, this one's going to be the other Dark Irregular deck that's a pretty popular one right now, mainly because it's got more of the hype of the new GB or Generation Break 2 focus stuff. So the new cards, essentially. So it's still a pretty fun deck. The only difference is the Gillis Rais play is not nearly as strong or as potent as it is in Amon, mainly because of Amon's starter. So, but this one is still a pretty good deck. It's a pretty fun deck to play as. So, as far as grade 3s go, 4 of the Scharhrot Vampir, I think that's how you say it. So Scharhrot's pretty good, or Scharhrot, I'm not sure, but anyway, Vampir is pretty good because it takes the deck back to how Dark Irregulars were tending to play a little bit. Like, they did have the ability to retire opponents' rear guards. They had a Berserk Dragon clone, essentially, which was Gwyn the Ripper. So this guy's on-stride effect is, when you stride, you can CB1, you soul charge 2, choose one of the Vanguards, and until the end of the turn he gets when this unit attacks the Vanguard, if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. So you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards when it attacks a Vanguard if you have 6 or more souls. So most of the time that'll be a live stride skill. So it does make the opponent more likely to try to block on-hit stride units early, and then later on they'll have some trouble with Gillis Rais because they were perfect guarding early, or they were throwing like 310s early or something like that. Well, actually, perfect guards don't work on Gillis, but anyway, that's besides the point. So Vampir 4, he's really good, and then, or she's really good, I'm not sure, I think it's a he. And then 4 of the other grade 3 is Sweet Predator. So she is the one I went with for the backup one. I'm not running any of the old stuff like the Break Ride or things like that, because I feel, in my opinion, Break Ride is really lousy when paired with the GB2. I mean, you can still run it. People, obviously, they run Mordred in Revengers, but again, Revengers is not a stride-focused deck. At its core, it's still a Legion-focused deck, or at least the Abyss build is. But I feel like Break Ride's really slow and unnecessary, so I don't recommend running Dontarian in here. Ragey is another one that some people try to mention. He's a 10k, I don't like him for that reason. And the only other one is the Lord of the Abyss. So he's a limit break, so again, I don't really like him. So honestly, I feel like Sweet Predator is probably the best choice because she does have Vanguard or Rearguard effect, and her GB1 skill is basically a copy of Doring the Thruster. So essentially, she's a grade 3 Doring the Thruster, with it, but it's limited to GB1, so which is not too hard to pull off in a stride-focused deck. So that's the grade 3 lineup. For grade 2s, 4 Squallmaker Vampir. This is the generic GB1. When this is boosted, when it attacks the Vanguard and it's boosted, you can CB1 to do something. And what this guy does is he soul charges 2, and then he gets 5k. So essentially, it's a very good rush, or not really rush because it's GB1, but it helps you hit 21k with relative ease, or it hits that number bracket really easily. Next, 4 Flirtatious Succubus. This was a promo card from way back. It got reprinted as a rare now in set 3 or GBT3. Essentially, it is it's one of those cards when it's placed on. It's like a Nitro Juggler clone. So Dark Irregulars had access to it, but very few people had it. I never had it until now. So anyway, when it's placed on V or R, you can soul charge 1. So very good, just to get an extra soul charge. And then 3 Flying Librarian. Flying Librarian is also pretty good. When it's placed on R, you can counterblast 1 to gain soul charge 2. Then if you've got 6 or more soul, you can draw a card then if the number of cards is 10 or more, you can unflip. So essentially, if you've got 10 soul, you can place this card down, and essentially you will soul charge 2 and draw a card for free. So why do I only run 3 instead of 4? Because I don't like it's 8k and it's GB1 restricted, whereas Flirtatious is not. And Flirtatious is just 9k, so it's just better early on compared to 8k. Because you can't, like, if you call her down to fight, you can't really swing at a adjacent rear guard because it's 9k and stuff like that. So, but yeah, this is probably the more ideal lineup. So 4, 4, 3. For grade 1s, I am running the new Flag Breaker. This is the unflip Perfect Guard for Dark Irregulars. Because the deck does counterblast a lot, I feel like these cards are really designed to offset the CB1 cost that a lot of on-stride skill GB2 Vanguards have. So that's the main reason why I run this over March Rabbit of Nightmare Land. But if you have Rabbit, you can run Rabbit. He's still really good. I still think he has the coolest artwork out of all the Dark Irregular Sentinels. I still have my 4 copies, I'm just not using them. Next, for Succubus of Pure Love. Same, I mean, it's Stride. Almost every single deck that I've run that is GB2 focused will max the Stride fodder copies. Again, you can search. It helps you ensure that you won't have to ride this as the main grade 3 that game. It helps you search this. So, and it's Stride fodder. So it's really good in the Stride focused deck. Next, for Lunatic Masquerade, I feel like this is basically their main booster. So this is a 9k booster if you've got 6 or more soul. Then if you've got 10 soul, it becomes an 11k booster. So again, this with this guy is very good because this will be 11 and this will be 14. So yeah, that's 25. That's really good. That forces a lot of shield. And then 2, Killing Dollmaster. So this is just like the extra tech card for the grade 1s. Basically what it does is at the beginning of your main phase, you can, if it's on the field, you can put it into the soul to soul charge 2. So it helps you reach the 10 soul. Basically this deck is a deck that it wants you to get 10 soul. With 10 soul, his GB2 skill is, so if he's got 6 soul, his GB2 skill is he gains 10k during your turn. And then if you've got 10 soul, he gains a critical. So basically, with GB2 and with 10 soul, this is 21 unboosted with 2 critical. With this thing behind, or not this, with this behind him, this is 11k, this is 21. That's 32 right there, swinging. That's pretty good, I'd say. So 2 of this, just in case you absolutely need to use this to get from 8 to 10 soul. For the trigger lineup, I am running the 4 stand triggers. They're just amazing in here. They go back into the deck. So it helps prevent deck out, and Dark Irregulars are prone to deck out the same way Genesis are because of the blind soul charging, which a lot of people hate, and that's why a lot of people refuse to play these type of decks. But I still think they're pretty fun decks, and they can be competitive. They just take more skill to play than your typical toolbox deck like Gold Paladin, Royal Paladin, Shadow Paladin, things like that. So Monochrome of Nightmare Land is very good. It has an activate GB1 skill on rear guard. You can put on the top of the deck, soul charge, or shuffle the deck. Then you soul charge 1, and then if the number is 6 or more, you can unflip a card from the damage zone, and then if you have 10 soul, you get to draw a card. So with 10 soul, you'll basically be replacing this, and I mean, the nice thing about this is if you've got 9 soul, this can help you hit 10 soul, unflip, for more counterblast shenanigans, and then you draw, it replaces itself. So very good stand trigger. Then just 8 critical. You can run the Margle or the Flame of Victory clone if you want, like it's in my Mon deck, and that's my more competitive deck, so I'm not using it in this one. But 8 critical and 4 stand, and then 4 heal. You can actually run, honestly, in this deck, you can go 12 critical, or even 4 draw if you want 4 draw. But I feel like with the 4 draw, you're even more prone to decking out. That's why I don't recommend the draw triggers. Plus, there's lots of ways to draw. I mean, this draws. They have some stride units that draw them cards and stuff like that. So, and then the starter is Werfelder Ardenaz. So he has a GB1 skill of you can counterblast 1 during main phase, you can put in the soul charge 2, and then if you have 6 or more soul, you can draw cards. Typically, you only use him to get to 6 soul. Otherwise, I mean, you can still use him to cycle. But yeah, 10 soul is kind of the number you want. So once you hit 10 soul, you don't want to soul charge that much more, because you don't need to. So you'd rather hit triggers and stuff like that. So for the stride deck, it's very similar to the Amon one with some slight changes. So 2 Love Tempest Kiss La Kill, or Kiss Kill Lyra. So Lyra is the other card that can draw you cards if they let it hit. If you've got 6 or more soul, you can draw. So basically, when it hits, soul charge 2. If you have 6 or more soul, you can draw a card. So this, along with this, the deck has enough draw power. You don't need draw triggers. Obviously, they have to let it hit though. So it tends to force out some 10k shields early, or maybe a perfect guard or something, which will basically make this guy a lot harder to deal with later on. So next, 3 Soulless Demagogue. I almost will never stride this guy actually. Like I'll only stride him if I don't have the right amount of soul for Gillis, and also if for whatever reason I can't stride her again. I'm not sure. Like I never really find myself using this guy. Honestly, I feel like I should probably just run Atmos, or like another Blizzard or something. But the 2 of these should actually be 2 more of this guy, because again, you need 4 of this for this deck to actually be considered really good. So I only have, unfortunately, only 2 Gillis to Rais. So he's really your main win condition. So he is a stride unit with the Glory Maelstrom skill. So what he does is you can activate his effect on main phase. You can unflip a Gillis. He doesn't use any counterblast. That's what I like about him. So just unflip a copy of him. So Persona Flip, if the number of your soul is 10, he gets 10,000. And then if the number is 15... So yeah, I forgot to mention that. Actually, you cap at 15. You can cap at 10 to gain this guy's GB2 full potential. But then if you go all the way to 15, so really the only reason why I would stride this, I would usually stride this as 3rd stride. I would never stride this 2nd if I still have one of these available and I can't go into Gillis, because this on hit can still charge 2 and then it draws you a card. So. But definitely, I recommend 4 Gillis. Gillis is really good. He's one of the main win conditions of the deck. If you've got 15 or more soul, when he attacks a Vanguard until the end of the battle, the opponent cannot use a grade 1 or greater to guard from the hand. And then if you've got 2 or more cards in the G zone face up, he gains a critical. So pretty good effect. Very, very potent in Amon's deck, mainly because of the starter, like I said earlier. And the last stride unit is a Blizza. So really, the ideal stride deck should be 4 Gillis, 2 Lyra, and I guess 1 of him, just because he can power up the front row potentially, and then 1 Blizza. So anyway, that was my Vampir, I'll call it Vampir, deck profile. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, what you would change in terms of the grade 1, grade 2, or if you think this is already pretty optimal. So I'd like to hear the feedback. And as always, guys, stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos in the future, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.